On today's episode, I want to take a closer look at Qualcomm. And I might be crazy for saying this, but I do believe Qualcomm might be one of the best AI stocks out there. And they do share a lot of similarities with NVIDIA, in my opinion, where I believe Qualcomm can be a great investment in my portfolio for the long term of things. So let's take a closer look in today's episode. So we can see Qualcomm right now, market cap of roughly $127 billion, PE ratio of 12, right? You're going to be like, Jose, you're showing me a boring company, no growth opportunity here. Come on, this is a company with a low PE ratio and a high dividend. There's no growth coming from this company. And hopefully I can change your mind by the end of this episode, but let me just kind of share my overall thoughts. Right now, year to date, Qualcomm hasn't done the best compared to some of the other semiconductor stocks out there. We can see year to date, the stock is up only 6.8%, where a lot of these semiconductor companies are up 70, 80, 90, some 100. NVIDIA up over 200%, right? So right now, the stock, like I mentioned, is down roughly 1.6%. So like I mentioned, right, it kind of gives me a lot of similarities with NVIDIA in a few cases, right? So NVIDIA, the way it has created its AI empire has done the following. First, it has the hardware. Second, it has the software. And then I want to say number three, the hardware is in a very niche market that helps it accelerate kind of that AI workloads and kind of those AI solutions. So it kind of has those three things. It has the hardware, it has the software, but then more importantly, within the hardware is more niche specific for AI solutions, right? Obviously for other types of solutions like accelerated computing, and luckily, AI was part of that accelerated computing. Now, I do want to say Qualcomm, in my opinion, is a very similar case. Qualcomm develops a lot of different semiconductor solutions for the mobile and for the handset devices. Here we can see that Qualcomm's chips go in almost all devices from handsets, mobile, networking, Internet of Things, wearables, hearables, auto, tablets, PCs, and augmented virtual reality devices as well. Not only do they have kind of the hardware, but they also have created this crazy full software stack. And within this full software stack, they also have a full AI stack that they're using on all these products. So right off the bat, we can see how this kind of similarities where Qualcomm has created not just crazy hardware, and we're going to talk a little bit about some other hardware in a bit. We're also going to take a closer look at how it's being used in AI, but also they have created their software stack. Now, before we take a closer look, I know one thing that a lot of investors might not be so excited about Qualcomm is, hey, this is a company that right now depends a lot in the mobile market, and obviously the mobile market and a lot of kind of these consumer goods are seeing a bit of a slowdown. So while that is true, I want to say maybe this is like the NVIDIA point where NVIDIA was really focused on gaming to some extent, but they had other growth opportunities. And eventually we came out with the data center. Eventually we came out with other solutions like AI. And I think we're going to see similar cases, maybe not to the extent of NVIDIA, but definitely kind of following that same road. We can see the company is profitable in cash flow from operations. They do have a nice amount of cash and short-term investments. Unfortunately, the company does come with a nice amount of total long-term debt. But like we saw, this is a mature company that does kind of have kind of that positive cash flow. It has a dividend. And in my opinion, it's not a company I would worry about going under anytime soon. If we take a closer look at PE ratio, current, forward, and forward 1 year, we can see they're all trading in the low teens. In my opinion, again, Qualcomm is sitting at a very attractive value, not solely because of its PE ratio, but because of its growth opportunity. I also do believe that the market or analysts might be underestimating how much this company can grow. In the trailing 12 months, Qualcomm's revenue is roughly $41 billion. Unfortunately, due to the slowdown the market is seeing, and I do agree with this, current fiscal year is going to be down year over year to roughly $36 billion. Again, the consumer market, which is a market Qualcomm depends a lot heavily, is seeing a very strong weakness, especially in the semiconductor space, as we're still seeing things like over inventory correction. So I do believe that this year is going to be worse. But when we take a closer look at the next fiscal year, it's going to be a $39 billion market. And for the next two fiscal years, they believe it's going to be 40.5. So to some extent, many analysts believe that the revenue this company is seeing right now in the trailing 12 months is higher than what this company can see 2 fiscal years from now. And I don't believe that's going to be the case. The main reason is Qualcomm is hitting numerous.
I want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and check out fool.com/Jose for the 10 best stocks to buy now. With that link, you get a promotional offer for the subscription service. Now, let's continue with today's episode.
Markets. First, if the handset market turns around, which I do believe is going to turn around, maybe not in the next 5 months, maybe who knows when. But I do believe within the next 2 years, mobile devices and consumer goods are going to be the craze again. And handsets obviously are going to do well for that. Then Qualcomm also has other growth opportunities. Like I mentioned, the automotive market, this is one that we continue to see grow as cars are starting to get smarter and they're starting to integrate a lot more semiconductor solutions. Qualcomm provides a lot of different solutions for this space. Internet of Things like robotics, automation in industrial, but also in the consumer market, the PC market in general, and other Internet of Things like Meta's virtual reality headsets continue to use Qualcomm chips, right? So Internet of Things is another market that I believe can continue to grow, especially if we start to see this turnaround in the market. So now that we talked a little bit about them and why I believe maybe analysts might be wrong about future revenue expectations, I do believe we're going to start to see maybe some re-guidance and re-increasing in the upcoming quarters. But Qualcomm, they do mention that they are a leader on-device AI leadership. So what's on-device AI? So right now, if you have been playing with AI, things like ChatGPT, none of that is done locally. All that is you kind of go to ChatGPT or OpenAI, you kind of put a text prompt, that text prompt gets sent to the cloud, and then the cloud kind of does all the backend. And that gets very, very expensive. The other thing is a lot of big risk from there is privacy, right? Because all that information is being sent to other places. Now, what if you're able to kind of create those, get those generations and kind of have all those kind of training sets, everything you need to kind of do all that AI stuff, but on a local device? How can that be beneficial? There's many reasons. One, it can kind of help reduce the cost, right? Because you don't need to have a crazy cloud. You can have this super low efficient, energy efficient device on your hand doing all this. The second thing is you don't need to send any information out to the cloud or anywhere else because you're going to be able to maintain everything on your device. And this is why Qualcomm, they have showcased how their chips are able to run kind of AI workloads. And we're going to see some in a bit. They did a recent showcase where they talked a little bit about them. But this is why Qualcomm believes they are an on-device leader. Now they're also kind of talking about the future of AI. And they do mention AI processing distributed between the cloud and the device themselves. This is what they're calling a hybrid AI architecture. So what's happening here with this hybrid AI architecture is you might be running certain applications and certain AI workloads on your device. And this is going to help again with continued privacy with things like security, but there might be certain products or certain data that you don't really care or you don't need it, or it's not private, it's not something you need to secure, and that you can send onto the cloud or wherever. And this is the hybrid that they're working with. And Qualcomm is saying, hey, look, we have the on-device, and we're going to be able to kind of partner up with these big players on the cloud to be able to create this hybrid AI architecture. Now, Qualcomm, they did have an event, and we can see here on Silicon Angle, there was an article that came out about a day ago where they kind of, Qualcomm had an event, or they took the stage at an IEEE conference on computer vision and pattern recognition. So IEEE is a huge, huge community for engineers, usually in the electrical engineering firm, and obviously we can see a lot of kind of AI products being used here. So Qualcomm here showcased a lot of different products, right? They kind of showcase how with a Qualcomm, if you have an input image, maybe you can draw something really quick, you can kind of input a prompt, you will be able to generate an image within 12 seconds. They mentioned that this image was generated in less than 12 seconds. So overall, we can see how generative AI is coming to the market within itself. They also talked about other things like, because Qualcomm is such a great player in things like augmented reality, virtual reality, and they have a lot of kind of sensors and kind of communication products they're able to kind of generate, for example, some form of 3D map of the outside world where, let's say you are an app developer and you want to create a game that, hey, you throw a ball around your house, so a virtual ball, but this virtual ball has to bounce off your wall, bounces off your TV. It needs to be physically accurate, right, with physics simulation. Qualcomm kind of mentions that, hey, because of our hardware, because of our software stack, we're able to do this. They kind of showcase a lot of other things, like being able to maybe create a 3D avatar just based on 2D images. They talk about how these solutions can not only go into generative AI, but things like automotive and other types of Internet of Things solutions as well. So we can see how Qualcomm's products are used right now, or are being used right now to their AI, to the AI market. And this is why, again, I believe that Qualcomm could definitely be a strong leader in the AI space. Now let's take a let's kind of rewind back and let's talk about Qualcomm and their other markets. Recently, on June 22nd, is that today? Yep, that was yesterday. Qualcomm announced a multi-year collaboration with Sony to deliver next-generation smartphones. So they already had a partnership with with Sony. Now they're just kind of extending that partnership. And again, we're going to continue to see more chips come out with Qualcomm devices. I do believe, again, the handheld devices are going to see an uptick in the upcoming quarters. The which quarter I don't know, but in the upcoming quarters, I do believe we're going to start to see consumer spending increasing again. Next, we see Qualcomm launches new satellite Internet of Things solutions to provide uninterrupted remote monitoring and asset tracking. And if you're looking at this, no, they're not providing some form of tracking for the satellite. It's more of just the tracking for regular devices. So Qualcomm, again, they have this kind of platform, the Qualcomm Aware platform, which allows companies to better monitor and track valuable assets virtually anytime and anywhere around the world. So again, this is very similar to NVIDIA. They got hardware, they have software, then they have their own platforms within there. They created two pretty cool chips. They created the Qualcomm 212S and the Qualcomm 9205S chips, which are used for tracking, and they all have their own kind of use cases. For example, the 212S applications include gathering telemetry and data from water and gas tank meters and other infrastructure equipment. It's also well suited for utility grid monitoring, early fire detection reporting, onshore and offshore mining installations, and environmental management. So we can see how this Internet of Things in the industrial market can continue to grow, and how Qualcomm has different solutions there. The 9205S applications include transoceanic shipping, container tracking, agriculture equipment and livestock tracking, global fleet and freight tracking for supply chain management, including for logistic partners that perform remote deliveries. So again, we can see all these different solutions that Qualcomm has come out with. Recently, on June 21st, they also kind of announced their next generation for the audio market. They also have chips that also deal with the audio space. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is Meta. Meta is a really big customer of Qualcomm to some extent, because they are using their chips to power the Meta Quest 2 and also the Meta Quest 3. Here, when we kind of saw the Meta Quest 3 announced that it's coming in fall, is using a Snapdragon GPU processing chip that was collaborated working with Qualcomm and Meta. So pretty interesting there. Unfortunately, on the negative side, Qualcomm recently just laid off a few hundred workers due to the kind of the slowdown. But again, I do believe Qualcomm can definitely be a big AI player. It's definitely trading at a great valuation. Let me know what are your thoughts on the comments below. Take care, have a good day, and see you next time.